So this climbing vine is from the tropics, and it's actually evolved a thick starchy root. We might as well point at the roots, hadn't we, while we're talking about that. So these thick starchy roots, anything usually with thick starchy roots, means that it is drought tolerant, and this is drought tolerant. So that gives you some idea about the watering and about the media and about how frequent to water it. Now obviously I'm talking about what you should do if you've got exactly the same conditions as mine, which, you know, is highly unlikely that you have. So I can tell you my thought processes as we look at this pot. So what happened last year is that because it had been in the same pot for too long, the roots were kind of filling the pot and it just wasn't drying out. So I got myself one of those handy little moisture meters and I was able to test it. So when I potted it up, rather than remove all the media that was in the roots, you couldn't really do that properly without causing a lot of damage. I potted it up so that there was about that much space around the side, and the extra media that I added was of a very well draining consistency. So I added some grit to it, some sharp sand, some perlite, and I tried to make that media so that it would drain a little bit more easily, and that solved my leaf problem. That was all it needed. Another factor is that if you do leave one of these plants, which don't forget, they grow very, very large. They can grow 6 meters or more. That means that they're going to have a big base in order to support that. So if you've got them in a very small pot, very soon or very quickly, they can kind of use up all that space and they become starved of oxygen. So that extra media around the side can really help with that. It turned it around. Within a few weeks, it was completely different just because I potted it up. So that's something to think about. So as far as watering goes, I've just watered it now, but you must let it dry out. It doesn't want to be in a position where it's either sitting in water, that's why I've got it raised up, and it doesn't want to be wet or moist for any, you know, length of time. If you can see it's not drying out, then leave it, don't water it. You want it to get to that point where it's been dry for a few days before you water it again. Remember, thick starchy roots, it's got the storage there, the moisture storage there, and it wants to dry out. It is a drought tolerant plant.